I like that Zoom gives us the announcement that recording is progress. So we have to consent to being recorded now. We didn't have that back in the olden days of March of 2020. All right, welcome everybody. We're going to get started. We know it's a beautiful night out tonight. We've got some lovely spring weather, so we really appreciate you spending some of your evening with us. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jennifer Coffey, and I have the pleasure of serving as the Executive Director of ANJAC. Also from ANJAC's team, we have with us tonight Elizabeth Ritter, who's our Deputy Director, and Amanda Brockwell, who is our Director of Development and Donor Relations. We're thrilled to have Jen Schneider and Tracy Woods with us tonight presenting, but I will introduce them in just a second. So just to make sure you're in the right room, we are going to learn about community solar this evening and try to shed some light on the municipal perspective, because we know that's the arena in which all of our ECs, Open Space Committee members, Green Team members operate. We are trying to bring you the resources that we hear you want and need as we look to fight the climate crisis and transition away from fossil fuels to more clean, green, renewable energy sources. So to answer some questions that we usually get right up front on these webinars, yes, we will be recording this, and the recording will be available to everyone who registered for it. So if you know someone who missed it, you can share the link with them later, watch this with your EC or your Green Team as a group. We encourage you to do that. Please post your questions in the Q&A. So you'll see both a chat and a Q&A link. The Q&A link helps us keep better track of your questions. We will be posting links that you may want in the chat. So if I reference a survey tonight, the link will pop up in chat. Or as Tracy and Jen are presenting, you'll see links that'll pop up. So you can open those and keep them in your browser to look at later. If we don't get to your question that you're going to post in the Q&A, and you want to communicate with us, or you have a question about something that is unrelated to tonight, you can email us at info@anjac.org. I promise you that email is better monitored or better managed than my own email, because wow, is my email overwhelming. So email us at info@anjac.org. We have several staff that look at that and deal out the questions like a deck of cards to the person who can best handle that question. So I know most or all of you know what an ANJAC is, the Association of New Jersey Environmental Commissions, and it really is our job, our mission for the past 55 years until mission is accomplished to meet your needs and the challenges that you have to create equitable, healthy communities, protect and restore natural resources. So we want to hear from you. We want to help you. That's what helps us to develop our programming, our articles in the ANJAC report, and create an agenda for our annual environmental congress. Okay, this is important. We have money available, not a ton, but some, for open space stewardship grants. So these are for environmental commissions for projects up to $1,500. And the deadline is approaching soon. So make sure you get in and check out these links. I'm sure we're going to post that link in the chat. So the deadline is the end of this month. Our aim is to have a simple application for you. We don't want to read 10 pages. These are simple applications with simple budgets. We just want to make sure they're thorough. So we encourage you to check out the application. Again, if you've got questions, info@anjac.org. There's some amazing projects, mapping projects, invasive species eradication, apiaries, pollinator gardens that ECs have done. The extra benefit of this project is you get to really promote your environmental commission in your town and create some positive relationships with your elected officials, your mayor, and the community, and show off a little in your community. So it's a great opportunity to do good work. It's all around positive, positive, positive. We also have a scholarship available. This is something because of a directed donation we're able to offer every other year for college students who are residents of New Jersey, so juniors and seniors who are studying natural resources and other environmental studies. So if you are a professor or a parent or an aunt or an uncle of a student who is a resident of New Jersey in college, so junior or senior who might be eligible for this application, please send them this information. You can use the camera app on your phone to take a picture of that QR code, and it'll pop up on your phone and your browser, and you can take a look at it later. Or if you just want to go to our website, you can go to anjac.org and click on the action alerts and you'll see it up there, because it is time to take action to apply for our Lechner Scholarship. And again, because we are here to serve you, we really pay attention to our members and what you're telling us. Membership is incredibly important to ANJAC. It enables us to bring you programming like tonight, our ANJAC report, to staff our 12-person resource center so that we can answer questions when you email us at info@anjac.org. We get thousands of requests a year on how to do a thing, how to stop a thing, how to build a relationship, how to get community support. And so we encourage you to become a member of ANJAC. We appreciate our Environmental Commission members, our individual members, and we certainly appreciate our corporate and foundation support as well. So if you're not a member of ANJAC or you'd like to give an individual donation, we very much appreciate it and encourage you to do so. So with that said, this is a preview of some upcoming programming. You can check out the calendar app on our website. We are furiously working to update that. We've got programs identified through September at this point. That doesn't mean that everything's up there, but we do have programs on our website through September. So we hope we'll see a lot of you this Saturday in person in Somerville. We're going to do our in-person session for our Fundamentals for Effective ECs. If you missed the virtual sessions, they're on YouTube, so you can go check them out. I like to call it spring training because I'm a baseball fan, so it's spring training for ECs. Our gift to you, and we hope to see you with your beverage of choice on April 25th to celebrate and honor Earth Day. We know you're all busy on the actual Earth Day, but it's Earth Month, right? I mean, every day is Earth Day for us. Come and join us for a virtual presentation of an art exhibit that was in New York and is coming back to New York. We have the curator coming to speak with us about environmental posters. So an artistic way to represent the crisis that we are experiencing in the environment and how to take action to mobilize people. We also hope we'll see some of our South Jersey folks at the Pinelands Preservation Alliance on May 11th, so the day before Mother's Day, for a networking session. And then we've got a lunch and learn about plastics to celebrate 2 years of the Plastic Pollution Reduction Act on May 14th. Check that all out on our website. Again, membership is incredibly important to us. We want to hear what you need so that we can put our programming together to meet those needs. So again, use the camera app and take a picture of the QR code there and take a very short survey and tell us what it is that you want us to do, because we are listening. So with that, I want to thank our partners for joining us tonight. Thank you to Sustainable Jersey, and thank you to Solar Landscape for being here with us this evening. And I want to talk just for a few seconds about community solar, because community solar offers residents the opportunity to tap into renewable energy from solar projects that are situated near their communities. So if you're not able to put it on your rooftop, you don't have a big backyard array, this is a great option for you. So putting large-scale solar on rooftops of commercial buildings allows inclusive access to clean energy and makes smart use of already developed areas, keeping our open spaces protected, because we know the value of forests from habitat perspective, from flooding perspective. So really taking advantage of the built environment in the most densely populated state in the nation makes a lot of sense to us. And then making that energy available to communities in close connection with them also makes a lot of sense. So we're going to start with Tracy. Tracy Woods is the Energy Program Manager from Sustainable Jersey. So hi, Tracy. Thanks for being here with us tonight. We work closely with Sustainable Jersey in all the ways that we can. They support green teams, we support ECs, and there's a whole lot of cross-section between those. So Tracy's going to delve into New Jersey's BPU, the Board of Public Utilities Community Solar Energy Program from a municipal perspective, and share many of the great tools and resources that Sustainable Jersey has to provide towns. We know these programs can sometimes feel complicated and there are questions that pop up. So I'm sure Tracy and Jen are going to take care of a lot of those questions up front. So after we hear from Tracy, we're going to hear from Jen Schneider, who's the Director of Partnerships at Solar Landscape. Solar Landscape is a national leader in community solar projects with hundreds of projects in the pipeline in New Jersey. You may have met Jen or some of her colleagues from Solar Landscape. They've been at Environmental Congress And so they're great people to work with. Jen's going to tell us about ways that ECs and green teams can engage with these projects in their communities. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Tracy, and then we'll hear from Jen. And again, thank you all. So if you've got questions, post them in the Q&A for our speakers, and we'll get to them at the end of the program. Thanks, Tracy. Oh, let me
Thank
stop
you.
sharing my screen here so you can have control.
Thank you, Jennifer. Let me see. It just always takes me a second to get my screen
Yeah,
up here
I'll stay here while you
and then go to
coming in
the
now. Yep, and then go to
slideshow
full
view
presentation.
in the beginning. Thank you for your patience. So first of all, I want to thank Anjek for having me be part of this webinar. It's always a great pleasure to talk about community solar. It's one of the most encouraging programs that I know. It is a win-win-win for everybody that's been involved so far. And, you know, all of New Jersey's had a really great experience during the pilot years. And we're looking forward to the permanent program, which is, you know, coming to us soon. And in today's, you know, in my section of today's presentation, I'm going to go over some of the basics of community solar. And then I'm going to do a demonstration of a tool called the New Jersey Community Solar Project Finder, which is an online tool that you can use to find projects that are located in the utility areas where your house is located. And then we're going to talk a little bit about some of the changes that are coming to community solar as part of the permanent program. And then my good friend and colleague over at Solar Landscape, Jen, is going to talk about outreach campaigns. So lots of cool things to hear about today. First of all, like Jennifer Coffey said, community solar is a large solar array that is that smaller chunks of it are like they're dedicated to individual subscribers, and and that's how you don't have to have the solar array on your roof. And you know, this provides the ability for folks who wouldn't be normally be able to participate in solar to have access to the benefit of solar on their utility bill. And that can include renters, people who have shade on their roof, people who can't afford to purchase a solar array. And so it's really expanded the number of people in New Jersey that can benefit from from renewable energy. Each subscription to a community solar project is billed on your utility bill, or is credited to your utility bill very similarly to how a solar array that was on your own roof would be credited. And we're going to show example of a utility bill with community solar credits on it in just a second here. But before we get into that, let's think about all the things that community solar brings, not only to the individual subscribers, but also to the communities that have community solar projects in them. There are all kinds of benefits. The folks who own the sites where the projects are located often get a benefit of they'll get a lease from the developer to have the solar project on their roof. You can see on the bottom corner of the screen, that's the landfill project from Manchester, where the solar developer paid the city of Manchester to allow them to build that project. And it was a real windfall for the city because before that, that was a landfill that they were having troubles capping. And the cost of capping that project was included in the project as well. So it was a real benefit to the city of Manchester to be able to have community solar. It also, you know, like I said, it increases the number of people that can participate in solar, and it also brings job opportunities for the folks that install all these panels, and again, creates positive development on difficult sites, and reduces, you know, the municipal emissions as we transition to a more renewable grid. Now, here is an example. So, okay, we're at a difficult time to do a presentation about community solar, because if you subscribe to a community solar project today, this is going to be how your billing circumstances will work. But we're moving to a new system in the near future. But I'll tell you how it works today. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the system that we're going to be going to in 2025. So if you subscribe to a project today, you see the credit So you'll go onto the website and subscribe, and then once your project goes live, and you'll get your utility bill, and it will have a line item, just like the PSEG bill, on the upper right-hand side of the screen, where it shows the credit for the solar that was generated from the panels that are ascribed to your household's utility bill. Then separate from that, the subscriber will give you a bill for the cost of belonging to the project. And the way that most of the crediting programs work is that the bill that you receive for your subscription is always a set percentage of the generation credit that you get. So in this example, the percentage is set at 20% of the bill, or I'm sorry, at 80% of the bill. That means the customer always retains 20% of the credit that they receive. So in this specific example, you can see that the community solar credit is $115. And because the consumer, well, just looking at the bill at the bottom of the page, you'll say that if your community solar credit was $100 and your subscription was set so that you retain 20% of the savings, your fee for that month would be $80. So there's no risk of there being a month where your bill was higher than the amount of solar that was generated for your project, because it's always a set percentage of the generation credit. And that's something that helps a lot of folks feel comfortable subscribing to the projects, because they know that they won't ever be like underwater where the subscription is more than the credit that's being generated. And so that's how this works now. And then you'll see a little later on that there's a new system coming where both the community solar credit and the subscription fee are going to be included in the utility bill together, which is nice because it means that you don't have to have a credit card on file with the subscriber organization or anything like that. And you just get your whole thing taken care of on your utility bill. We'll go in a little bit more detail in that in just a minute. Residents often want to know how much can they typically save. They will typically, most community solar subscription programs are structured so that the resident retains between 10 and 30% of the generation credit that they receive on their utility bill. And many of the projects offer low and moderate income residents a higher percentage of savings. And that's something that you'll be able to see when you look on the Community Solar Project Finder. So now I was telling you before that there is a tool to help residents find community solar projects that are serving their area. And this tool was created by Sustainable Jersey in partnership with the New Jersey BPU. And I'm going to stop sharing for just a second so that I can transition over to the website and do a demonstration of this tool. All right. Okay, so you can see that this is the New Jersey Community Solar Project Finder, and it is a pretty good outreach tool all by itself because the first page has a little explainer. You'll see a lot of the same images I used in my slide deck, and there are resource slides down at the bottom of this first page. And then the part that most interests folks is if you go to the Project Finder page, and can somebody just give me a thumbs up that I did in fact change to the second page? Are you guys seeing a page that says enter your zip code? Great. Okay.
Yes, we've got it.
Okay. Sometimes when you change tabs, it doesn't change with you. I just want to make sure. Okay. So what this page features is if you scroll down, you can actually just look at all the different projects that are listed in New Jersey and have eligible credits, right, or eligible subscriptions right now. But if you type in your zip code, and I'm just going to type in mine just for fun, you can see that it will show you all of the projects that are in your service territory that are eligible for subscribers. And so you can see that there's several right now in my zip code. And if I go over here, I can scroll through all of them. And you get all the information that you need you can see all the projects in an apples to apples way. So let's just take a little look at what just randomly some of these projects that popped up. So we've got the information about the name of the project, the subscriber organization, the developer for the project, the address, and it tells you more information about the project. I can click here to get to the subscriber organization website and sign up. It also tells me when the project is going to go live. And then it tells me whether or not I need to do a credit check. I will tell you that I don't think any of the projects currently on the New Jersey Community Solar Project Finder require a credit check. It's something that's kind of popped up as a barrier in some other states. So we like to keep that question on there, but that's not something that's really been a problem in New Jersey. It also has a question about whether or not automatic payments are required. So in this case, you can see this project, the answer is yes, and sometimes it's no. So it depends on which, the details of the project. And then they ask the question, is the project open to residents who live in master metered buildings? So that means, a large building with multiple living units with one centralized electric bill. And again, some projects will accept subscribers from master metered buildings, some will not. So you have to look at the details of the project. It will also tell you the percentage of the generation credit that the resident gets to keep. And you'll see in this case, residents get to keep 22% of the generation credit, and low and moderate income residents get to keep 25%. So, and that'll vary from project to project. It tells you the subscription contract length. Oh, by the way, one thing I should tell you is even though it's listed here as 20 years, by the rules, residents are allowed to leave the project anytime they want. And if you need to put in a deposit, or if there's a fee to leave during the contract period, or do this percentages of savings change over the life of the contract, those questions are all answered for each project. Another important detail is what electric territory does the project exist in? And the reason that this is important is because some zip codes or municipalities are covered by more than one electric utility. And you need to know that only projects that are located in your electric utility service area can you subscribe to. So if you're served by JCPL and even if you live in the zip code, you can't subscribe to this project. And so you'll see that there's some projects that are in the same zip code that are served by different utilities. And then over here is a list of all the municipalities that are served by this project. So you can ensure that you are eligible for this project. So that's the listings page for the Community Solar Project Finder. And then the third page of this tool includes a glossary of common terms and frequently asked questions. And it's just going to take a second to load up here. And you'll see that there are just really some basic questions about community solar. One of the things that's listed on here are the income limits for what qualifies for low and moderate income, so that you know whether or not you can receive that additional discount, or I should say savings. And you'll see that, again, it gives the explainer for how the subscription fees work and how you receive the credit to your utility bill. And this mini website is meant to be an outreach tool all by itself. So, you could, as a environmental commission or as a municipality, share this with your residents as a way to introduce them to community solar and help them find projects that serve their territories. And Jen's going to talk a little bit more about some of the other outreach efforts that municipalities can do to support community solar projects. But before we get to that, I'm going to stop sharing again for 1 second and just go back to my presentation here. Second, I have to get to the right slide. Okay, so one of the things that has just really been so impressive is how well the pilots have worked out in terms of improving the amount of solar that's available for low income and moderate income residents. And you'll see when you look at this slide, this is from a study that was done about access to community solar programs. And with the pilot programs, I'm going to try one more time just to go into slide mode here. Nope. Okay, just ignore that. You don't see the man behind the window. So you'll see that New Jersey really has done a great job of performing in this place and really designed their program so that it's really intended to serve all of New Jersey's residents. And so in the transition to the permanent program, we're going to talk about some things that are coming up. So you'll remember that when we were looking at that slide with the picture of the PSEG bill, I was talking about how you get the generation credit on your utility bill, but you receive your bill for belonging to the project separately. Well, in 2025, the electric utilities are going to be starting to do something called consolidated billing, which means that you'll receive both your generation credit and your subscription fee on the same utility bill. And because your subscription fee is always lower than your generation credit, that means you won't have to pay anything at all. You'll only receive the credit without having to like have a fee on your credit card or something like that, which is a great boon to helping low income residents participate in these programs and making it just more equitable for everybody. The other thing that consolidated billing creates an allowance for is the low and moderate income automatic enrollment program. And, this is really going to involve municipalities and environmental commissions getting involved in supporting community solar projects, because the way that this is going to work is that the municipality or the county will need to either be one of the owners on the project or be considered the subscriber organization on the project. And they'd be able to automatically enroll low and moderate income residents into community solar projects. For those of you who are familiar with energy aggregation, it's sort of similar to that, where, if you live in the area that has been designated for automatic enrollment, you will receive a notice that you're going to be enrolled, and you'll have the ability to opt out. In order to be ascribed to this automatic enrollment program, 80% of the capacity of the area that is going to be enrolled must be considered low and moderate income. And again, residents will have the ability to opt out of subscribing. And then the residents will just see that generation credit on their utility bill and not be asked to put down any form of payment. And this is a really exciting thing, but obviously it's a really big change how community solar has been working in the past couple years. So the BPU and Sustainable Jersey are working on some resources to help support municipalities in taking on these automatic enrollment projects. And that's something that you'll see coming out in 2024 to get ready for that transition in 2025. And with that, I'm going to just give you a slide here for Sustainable Jersey has many resources for community solar on our website. And I think that Amanda's going to put on a link to the community solar outreach page. And then, so take a look at those. You can also get points in the Sustainable Jersey certification program for doing outreach in your community. And we have an action to support that as well. And also here's my email address. So if you have any questions after this presentation and want to write me, I'd be completely happy to speak with your team. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Jen, who's going to talk more about outreach for community solar.
Hi, thank you, Tracy. I will also try to start sharing my screen. Okay. Thank you so much all for the kind introduction. Some of you may recognize me from my former capacity with the town of Secaucus. I was the environmental director there, so Now in my capacity with Solar Landscape, I've been to Sustainable Jersey Summit, ANJEC's Environmental Congress. So I recognize a few attendees listening in right now that I met at the last Congress. We're a proud supporter of ANJEC and Sustainable Jersey, and it's a pleasure joining everyone tonight. To piggyback off of what Tracy shared, I'm going to cover some examples of municipal outreach. So many of whom that I'll share have actually earned points for the municipally supported community solar action. And I'm also going to briefly touch on host site considerations, because I do frequently have municipalities reach out and ask what it looks like to become a community solar host site. Tracy shared examples of a few, like the landfill in Manchester. And I'll also highlight the new mayor letter requirement for all new CSEP community solar energy program projects. So sorry, I'm catching myself, because if I say CSEP, that's the BPU's new acronym for the program. So that is what I was referring to. And just very quickly, if you haven't heard of us before, we're a New Jersey community solar developer based in Asbury Park. And we've been honored to receive many recognitions in New Jersey and throughout the country. So for example, in 2021, we received the Governor's Environmental Excellence Award for climate change and clean air. And we've also received awards from the U.S. Department of Energy for our work with equitable workforce development. I chose 6 towns to highlight outreach that they've done around community solar. If you're listening in from a town and you're not on here, I applaud your work. I just wanted to highlight different types of outreach from municipalities across the state. So first, I'd like to highlight Cranberry. They not only passed the criteria of support resolution that Sustainable Jersey requires for beginning the municipally supported community solar action, they also added educational information and the Sustainable Jersey Project Finder to their municipal website. Their mayor sent out community solar information within their monthly news email blast. They helped provide introductions to affordable housing providers so that the existing community solar capacity within their community was reached for, again, the LMI capacity. And they've also done extensive education at community events such as Cranberry Day. Delran, similarly to Cranberry, passed the criteria of support resolution for the municipally supported community solar action for Sustainable Jersey. They have information on their municipal website and even more on their Sustainable Delran website, and they've also hosted community sessions, which is highlighted in this post from December 2022. So you can see they were an early adopter in the world of community solar in New Jersey. And the mayor of Delran also sent a letter to all residents letting them know about the subscription opportunity and about community solar. Piscataway, they had a community newsletter this past summer, as well as local TV coverage. I had the pleasure of being on Piscataway with Mayor Waller. This is a drone shot of the completed project there in Piscataway, and they also hosted a presentation at the senior center, and they also had a mailing from Mayor Waller. So this is a great photo from the ribbon cutting that day. Actually, we were calling it a cord connection, but I promise it was safe, and there was no power actually going through the cables. It's a secret. So the BPU president was also present, which was exciting. In South Plainfield, they also passed the same municipal resolution for Sustainable Jersey Points. They have an educational municipal website. Their green team is posted on their social media outlets, and they've shared educational information about community solar at many community events. I'm just highlighting this one at their Christmas in July, where Alice Temple from South Plainfield posted, learn about how you can get your electricity from the sun, even if you can't install solar panels on your own roof. And they also did a municipal mailing. Westfield, I found this amazing photo of my former colleague, Yvette Villasus, who's currently on a leave of absence from Solar Landscape. She is a current fellow with the Department of Energy, focused on developing a community solar connector tool for folks on LIHEAP assistance. And pictured right is Lois, the co-chair of the Westfield Green Team. They also posted information on their municipal website. They were a very early adopter for community education and outreach, and they've earned the municipally supported community solar action. They featured information in their newsletter, and most impressive, they received the 2022 ANJEC Municipal Leadership Award. So that is for their work with education and outreach surrounding community solar. So that is what is pictured here. And last but not least, Woodbridge, Greenable Woodbridge, extensively covered community solar through their local TV outlets and newsletter. They also had a project ribbon cutting, which is pictured right. They introduced us as well to Woodbridge Housing Authority. So Woodbridge Housing Authority, as their 2 buildings have actually been subscribed to our projects in their area. So the housing authority, similar to an individual household, is able to retain the savings associated with their community solar enrollment and put the savings back into their facilities, either through direct or indirect benefits to their residents. And that's allowed by the Board of Public Utilities, as long as they pass, sign and notarize an affidavit on how that they are an affordable housing provider and how they will be utilizing the savings. And we also recently hosted a workforce training with Woodbridge. We have, as I mentioned before, a robust workforce training program now called Step Up. So if anyone is interested in learning more, please reach out to me or check out our website, but I'm trying to be very brief. I could do a whole presentation on workforce development. And to jump into some community solar host site considerations, as I mentioned, I've had many municipalities reach out to me just inquiring how they could go about becoming a community solar host site and what types of rooftops in particular we usually look for as a developer. So to quote the BP directly from their website, njcleanenergy.com, in terms of siting community solar projects have to be limited to existing rooftops, carports, canopies over impervious surfaces, contaminated sites and landfills, or water bodies that have little to no established floral and faunal resources. So while we specialize in rooftop projects, Tracy shared a lot of great examples of capped landfill projects. And when we are looking at rooftops in various municipalities, mainly commercial rooftops, we usually look for a minimum roof area of approximately 30,000 square feet. And this equates to about 500 kW of solar system of reasonably continuous space. So that means not multiple smaller buildings adding up to 30,000 square feet, but one really large roof. So for example, one municipality I know of reached out and their DPW was really, really small. So it wouldn't likely be a suitable candidate for community solar. That's not to say that they can't, but that's just to share what I've observed in my experience thus far with community solar. And I also wanted to touch on interconnection capacity because that is a application requirement to have interconnection approval from your utility that you are in, whether that be PSE&G, Atlantic City Electric, JCP&L, or Oregon Rockland. So to share an example of JCP&L, since that is where we are headquartered, I chose our office on Bings Avenue. So you can see from JCP&L's hosting capacity map for solar, where we are, there is about 100 to 1,000 kW AC of capacity left. So if we were to have a 500 kW project, it would likely be approved for interconnection, or in some cases require a study. But when it's predominantly red, it is not as likely to be able to move forward without significant upgrades. And just to share an example, I just threw the slide in because I saw a few folks in the chat earlier were asking about the number of subscribers to a project and how many there can be. Typically, each project has a certain amount of power that's estimated for it to produce in a given year. So for these two projects here in Perth Amboy, when I wrote here that it can serve about 1,200 households, we estimate that based off of an average household using about 7,500 kilowatts. So that would be, these two projects together can serve about 1,200 local houses or apartments, but every household is different. You might have a 1-bedroom apartment that doesn't use a lot of power, or you might have a multifamily house all on the same meter, and then that estimation would change, where it might not be exactly 1,200, but we try to limit the number of subscribers to approximately the number of the power that the system produces. And then, oops, sorry, I'm trying to go forward. I also wanted to share, since I've gotten this question from several environmental commissions, as part of the new permanent program, a letter from a local mayor where a new project is being considered is required. And this is for projects that the town might want to host themselves, or separately a private project like this one. And it must include the project location. So this is a screen capture from frequently asked questions on njcleanenergy.com website, which notes that the letter that's required must acknowledge the project siting. And municipalities do not have to actually send the letter to the BPU themselves. The project developer would include that as part of their application, and it is an application requirement. So something I wanted to highlight is this is a key way where environmental commissions really can have a voice and be involved in new community solar projects coming to their community. Just to share one example, I was at a town council meeting sharing information about a project we were planning in a community, and the mayor and council were hesitant at first, but there was actually an environmental commission member in the audience, and they reached out to the mayor and council after the meeting and really helped encourage them to move forward with signing the letter, which enabled the project application to be submitted to the BPU for consideration. Because without the letter, the project cannot happen, even if there's interconnection approval from the utility and a lease with the commercial property owner. So just to share a few ways as quick as I could on how environmental commissions and green teams can be involved, whether that's through education and outreach, through you considering having a project owned by your municipality, or helping enable new projects be considered. So that is all. I'm assuming there might be more questions, but appreciate again being invited to speak.
That was great. Thanks, Jen. Thanks, Tracy. We do have a few questions, and we might get a few more. So if you do have a question for either one of our presenters, go ahead and post it in the Q&A. I'm going to start with a question from Rich. If a resident already has a solar system installed on their own roof, can they participate in the New Jersey Community Solar Program? I don't know the answer to that.
Jen, you want to take that, or you want me to take it?
You can take that one if you want. I think I'll take the second too.
Okay. So the answer is yes, asterisk. And what I mean by that is, say that you have a solar array on your roof that doesn't meet all the needs for the electricity that you consume in your residence. You can have a community solar project that's scaled for the portion of your electric bill that isn't typically served by your on-site solar. And then, so it'll be a smaller subscription. It'll just be for a portion of your usage. And so, yes, but it is going to be a smaller subscription.
Great. Thanks, Tracy. And thanks for the question, Rich. The next two questions are related from Rich and from Rob. So this is a question about subscribers. Is the number of subscribers capped for each project? So is there a limitation on each site of how many people can subscribe?
Yes, so that's what I saw these earlier, so I tried to show that visual before of the two projects in Perth Amboy. We have our best estimate of approximately how much power the project is going to produce in a given year, but of course that can slightly vary. And then his annual usage can vary too. So we try to limit the number of households and affordable housing providers that subscribe to these projects about equivalent to the amount of power we expected to produce, but both of those are variables. So we do our best to keep them in line, but sometimes people add EV chargers to their house or become more energy efficient. So folks' energy usage that we're expecting can fluctuate, just as the solar system can. If, say, in the winter there's a lot of snow and the systems produce a bit less power than expected. So folks might see their savings reduce a little bit at that time, but it is overall guaranteed to be a savings as regulated by the Board of Public Utilities.
Great, thanks, Jen. Ted has a question. Hi, Ted. Do we reach out to warehouses? Do you reach out to warehouses, et cetera, asking if you can locate a project on their roof? We hear a lot about warehouses these days. Could municipalities send you a list of warehouses that might be eligible for something like this?
Yes, certainly. I know many municipalities have referred us to various developers and warehouses that are interested in hosting projects, especially as they're in line with larger corporations' ESG goals, in addition to receiving a revenue from us as a tenant on their rooftop. So we pay them a lease payment based on the system size. So certainly, yes, we always welcome considering new host sites. And our business development team frequently reaches out to warehouses throughout New Jersey. And I'll drop in the chat our commercial development page is to show a few project examples of what this looks like. But you're also welcome to reach out to me with any suggestions or introductions, and I'm happy to relay those to our team.
Can I add something on to that?
Please.
Probably one of the more important outreach roles that's available for environmental commissions, green teams, and municipalities in the community solar project is supporting local large sites that could host community solar projects in learning about it. We call that being a project ambassador. Because if you think about it, like if there's a business in a town and someone from Solar Landscape or another developer calls them up and tries to explain about community solar, they're really going to feel, they may feel anxious or think it's a scam or something. But if the mayor of your town or a member of your council calls them and warms up that relationship and explains that this is a BPU managed program and that they, think that they'd be a great candidate for this project, and could we facilitate a call with some developers for you to learn more about it, that's really going to be a way different conversation than starting with having the developer call the organization. So I want to just really encourage you all to think about, locations in your town. It's actually really fun to do a little Google Earth flyover of your town and just sort of look at, like, oh, well, that looks like a big flat roof, There are certain online tools where you can actually even measure the roofs. You can do it with Google Earth, but there's other ways too. And, like Jenny was saying, if there is a roof that has, 30,000 square feet or so, then put them on your list of like potential candidates that you could reach out to. You can even talk to your like business organizations in town once you've come up with a list of some places that might be possible, and even organize a Zoom call if there's several locations, so that, the developers can meet with multiple building owners at one time. All of that we call being a project ambassador, and it's a great way to support community solar.
I imagine developing a relationship with the Chamber of Commerce, because that's where a lot of these businesses network as well, could be potentially beneficial.
Yes, absolutely.
Great, thanks. And that's one of the reasons we wanted to have this session tonight, because we did hear a bit of chatter about developers calling people individually, and some people did think these were scams, and I'm not saying they all weren't. I mean, scams they're everywhere, and I feel like we all almost fall in a pit of some scam every day. But when you do have somebody who's more reliable, the mayor an EC member coming and saying, no, this is legit. This is an actual program. And that's part of why we wanted to do this tonight, to kind of demystify how this is happening.
Absolutely. And I think that's true of the outreach examples that I shared. So the mailings from the mayor saying, hey, this is an opportunity. If you're interested, it's good for the environment and brings cost savings. So that is true for mayors sharing and EC sharing information about subscription. And then separately, of course, it's really impactful for new potential projects as well. And just as a quick aside, I know especially during COVID, when I worked in Sea Caucus, a lot of the warehouses and buildings actually didn't have tenants for a while or had trouble finding tenants, and the lease payment from the community solar developers that they could count on and rely on was really helpful for them to weather the storm, so to speak, just
Right.
from a business perspective. So mayors and ECs can certainly share this as a win-win for the businesses themselves, in addition to the environmental benefits.
Right. We've got two more questions, and we will have you out of here by 8 o'clock. So Rich wants to know, where do we find the letters of support for projects already available in our town? I would say you can always find letters of support from your township by filing an Oprah request, but I try to go a little more low key than that, and would just call the administrator or the planning board secretary or the mayor's secretary if you're a big town, and just ask for it, especially if you're an EC member. But the tools that Tracy and Jen were talking about earlier to find if there's a project available are really going to be the most streamlined way, I would think, to really access that
when you
information.
look at the BPU's project page too, they have a listing of every project that was selected. And when you click on the application, they'll tell you, what they included with their package. Like if there was like a letter of support from Secaucus, I'll just use Jen's example, that they'll have that listed too. So if you really want to dig in, but unfortunately, the file names just have like numbers, and you have to really dig in to find the ones that you're looking for.
Some towns do opt to pass resolutions, so those are sometimes easier to find than a letter. But I would, yes, definitely start with asking the mayor first, but I'm also happy to, if you ask me, I can look depending on what town you're in, Rich, if we have a project there or planning on.
Great, thanks. And Mandy has a question. What would you suggest for a municipality that doesn't have any buildings that meet the 30,000 square foot space criteria? Mandy says she's hard pressed to think of any buildings in her town that have a flat roof that size, except maybe the school. How can towns like hers bring this type of solar option? I don't know, maybe, is this not an option for everybody? Is that the answer?
I understand that size square roof is definitely more common in more developed communities with a lot of commercial and industrial space. But I just want to clarify, that was an example of what we typically look for and what I've seen. There is no actual minimum requirement in terms of size for community solar projects. There's a maximum where it can be maximum power production of 5 megawatts. But that's just typically what developers look for, like Solar Landscape. So if you were to go out to a bid, it would be likely that it wouldn't pencil and folks wouldn't apply if it were smaller than that. But in terms of referring other developers in your community, the other types of project sites that I mentioned, such as a landfill or brownfield, those are always options. And in terms of subscription, the great thing about the permanent program is that it'll no longer be eligibility based on municipal adjacency. So you can still do education and outreach around community solar for other projects in your general vicinity, whether that be your county or throughout JCP&L, for example. So just to share a quick example, that means that a project in Asbury Park, someone in Dover can technically subscribe to that in the permanent program.
That's great to know. So the 30,000 square foot is a reference, but not a minimum.
Yes.
And we can, nearby municipalities can subscribe. So it doesn't stop at your municipal border.
Correct.
That's great. And that might answer Ted's question. I think we'll give the final question to Ted here. He lives in Franklin Township, but has a Princeton address. We all understand how this goes, right? I live in Hamilton, but it comes up as Trenton. So this is just, we have 364 municipalities in New Jersey. So that happens to a lot of people. So Ted lives in Franklin, but has a Princeton address, which determines which projects he can connect to. How does Ted find that out?
So Tracy, you can always add to this, but using the project finder, it also lists the actual towns that are eligible. So you can enter your zip code first, but then when you see the eligible towns, you can look for Franklin Township. That this is an example of why it's so finicky for some, and why the BPU is expanding the eligibility to be utility wide, so it's easier for more folks to access.
That's great. And you can find the right Franklin Township, because we have a couple of them. We have a couple Franklins, we have a couple Washingtons, right? Okay, Tracy, any last words on that?
No, just the only thing I was thinking is a lot of folks also feel confused, like when we were talking about there not being any buildings of appropriate size in town. And Jenny was saying that you can subscribe to projects that are located out of town. You can also, if the municipality is looking to develop a project, you can, develop a project that's not located physically in your town. Even if it's a municipally sponsored project, it doesn't have to be located in your municipality. Which is probably one of the questions I answer the most, that folks feel disappointed that they won't be able to do a project because there's no big buildings. I'm like, well, don't be disappointed. You can do it, Yeah.
And so I do know we've got some conversation happening in the chat as well. I know I said Ted was the last question, but I want to call out, Carol, you asked, is there a list of reputable developers besides, of course, Solar Landscape? I would say that ANJAC doesn't have a recommendation list per se. I would point you to Sustainable Jersey's tool, project finder, and use that to really find the projects. Those projects that are out there are really, they've gone through the vetting process with the BPU. And so there's a system and there's a process that they've gone through. We've worked closely with Solar Landscape, and of course, Jen, as she talked about her role in Secaucus and understanding ECs. So we were pleased to bring them in here tonight to kind of walk you through this. But I would point you to Sustainable Jersey's tool as really the right place to go. All right, with that, I promised 8 o'clock, and I'm going to deliver on that. So I want to thank you, Jen and Tracy, for being with us tonight, Liz and Amanda for being with us tonight to help make sure this train stays on the tracks, and for organizing this session tonight. And I wish all of you a wonderful spring and hope to see you soon. Hopefully we'll see many of you on Saturday at our in-person networking session. So if you're not yet registered for that, go ahead to our website and check that out. That's in Somerville. We've got the best bagels and coffee that you'll have. So come spend some time with us on Saturday morning. Thank you again. Take care and have a wonderful evening.